welcome to GraftCast, the show where we talk to entrepreneurs and business owners about their professional journeys. Jack, who have we got on today?
Got Joe Spiers on today.
Joe Spiers. He's from Trusted Advisor and Phoebe, which are two financial advisor platforms, aren't they?
Yeah, so they both kind of go hand in hand together. From obviously Trusted Advisors, he has a group of advisors to, again, advise people with their financials. And then Phoebe was his platform to help advisors essentially with their advising and I think streamlining.
Basically automating it.
Yeah.
But it's a great episode and looking forward to speaking to him. So thank you so much for joining. So thank you so much for joining us on podcast today. Have you always been entrepreneurial?
Thanks for having me on. I've always wanted to be. I'm not sure if I always was. My dad runs his own business, was an entrepreneur, and then my older brother launched a tattoo shop, which has now become a couple of tattoo studios. So I guess I was always looking at them being like, oh, I want to do something similar. But I kind of went into the issue as I kept trying to be entrepreneurial, but I didn't know how to do anything really. So, it never really went anywhere. So then I started working for people, but it was always small businesses or startups. And I think the goal was always to have my own thing eventually.
Were you looking at it in the way of, because I know people go for a variety of different routes of going straight into their own business in their own industry, or for example, getting like a wealth of knowledge and experience from working with a variety of people. Did you know that going in?
No, not really. I would always have these kind of grand ideas. I want to make this business, and I had no idea about the industry at all or anything. So I'd try and make it, and it would always just become this thing that it was far too big, I could never take a bite the first bite out of it. Right, it was always too big to deal with. So my first ever job actually was, I guess, kind of entrepreneurial. I was a chef. I got paid to cook dinner parties for people. And then I was like 14, 13, and I was really fortunate that it kind of spread through word of mouth. I think the first ones were kind of my parents' friends who just were trying to help their friend's kid out, right? I probably wasn't that good. But one of them owned a hotel and offered me a job to interview at the hotel, and I really enjoyed that. And then I went and worked in a number of different kitchens in London before deciding that's not what I wanted to do, because it is the least entrepreneurial, until you become your own chef, it's like an army. It's a brigade, right? It's very, very strict, and I couldn't get on with that. So then I went back into school, got a degree, started working in a small company, and I'd still have these ideas, but I could never make them go anywhere. And then I guess I kind of progressed in my career, and more, I saw myself maybe just getting a percentage of someone else's company, join a company, improve it, get a bit of equity, and then one day would be able to do my own thing. But then I guess I got to a point where I was ready to kind of give it a go. I think it kind of feels like, I don't know if you guys have siblings, so I'm youngest of four. And I always remember thinking, oh, parents had it really together. They're like proper adults. And I saw my siblings have kids and then realized that they have no idea what they're doing. And it's kind of the same. I always thought these CEOs or people who ran businesses knew everything. And then I kind of got into those boardroom, those leadership meetings, and realized they had no idea what they were doing.
They're winging it.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. But then I was like, if they can do it, I can. And I think that was a big kind of change for me.
So
give it a go.
Explain to the audience just to, so what do you do, and how does your business help people?
Sure. So I'm the founder of a company called two companies, Trusted Advisor and Phoebe. And Trusted Advisor is a platform in which you can find the right financial advisor for you. Basically, the UK has this big problem that the FCA, who are the kind of financial conduct authority, wrote about ages ago, the idea that there is a thing in the UK called the advice gap. And most people don't take financial advice. I think it's something like 9 to 11% of the UK have financial advice as adults. But financial advice can make you so much better off. Even if you're not rich, it can help you deal with debt. It can help you make sure you're paying the right things off, slowly building wealth over time. But there is this kind of perception that it's only for really wealthy people. And also the industry does a terrible job explaining what they do. And it's really hard, if you just have a normal job where you earn your pension, what should you save or how should you handle it? So our company effectively finds great financial advisors, adds them to our platform, and then matches people who come to us with that financial advisor. The financial advisor is offering to meet the person free of charge, with the idea that hopefully, if they can show value, they might become a client long term. And the customer can meet the advisor, basically understand everything that they do, and then decide whether they want to become a client. So we're, I guess, kind of a marketplace for advice. We kind of try and see ourselves as a bit of a concierge or kind of financial advice hinge. Like you can find the right advisor for you, and then we match them together, and then we kind of back away, and that's that. So that's what Trusted Advisor is. And then Phoebe is a software product that we've built, which helps financial advisors build cash flows for clients. So when you meet an advisor, they kind of map out your life on what looks like a kind of complicated Excel. And those products, while they're really valuable, are really slow. They take 3 or 4 hours to build a cash flow, and then the advisor has to rebuild it every year for 2 or 3 hours. And if you're an advisor and you've got 150 clients, that's probably 750 hours a year. It means that you have to have fewer clients and charge more money, but our tool allows you to build the cash flows much, much faster. And the long-term goal is to automate a lot of what financial advisors do so they can have more clients and ideally charge less is the goal.
So, sorry, you go after. I was going to say quickly, is for business owners, entrepreneurs who you work with or have helped, what do you commonly find as one of their areas which they're kind of lacking in? Because you're very correct. I know a lot of people, business owners who do get financial advice, but it's very small amount of people I know who don't. So what common mistake do you kind of see in business owners?
Yeah, I think I should caveat this by saying I'm not the person that's going to give advice. I'm not an advisor, so don't listen to me. But a lot of the time, I think when business owners start doing well, they leave a lot of cash in the business with this idea that, I'll do something with it eventually. But you kind of get to a point where you've got to take it out if you want that money, right? And if you take it out in one go, you're going to pay a lot of tax. And I think most of the time, from what I've spoken to about advisors, about what they do, and when I've worked with an advisor, it's about consistently taking out small parts in lots of different setups. So using a pension, using an ISA, maybe using other tools like an offshore bond or a VCT, but doing it every month. And if you've got a partner, maybe using their allowances as well, and just consistently doing really boring, sensible things every month for 5 or 6 years. And planning ahead as well. If, you want to sell your business at this date for this much money, you need to kind of probably be working with an advisor 2 years before that. So they can start building a plan that, this is going to go there, this is going to go there. So yeah, I don't think there's anything that's like one button fixes it. It is, unfortunately, financial advice is quite dull. Like really good advice is quite dull. It's like having a really good personal trainer. They're probably just going to make you do squats. There's not going to be some insane thing that they do differently, but it's just doing it every day, not neglecting the squat rack and going and sitting in the sauna, like using your pension contributions. Don't just keep it in your current account because you open it up and seeing how much money you've got. Like it's those kind of things that compound, I think, over time.
And what was it that when did financial advice come into your life in particular?
Yeah, so I after the chef thing, I went to uni, started working in sales, and I think I was a bit naive, and I thought I'd always done quite well academically, and I'd always been quite kind of proud of that. And a couple of people had made comments, even though I was doing quite well in sales, that I should be doing something better because I was smart, they perceived it, and I think it kind of had an effect on me. And I was like, well, maybe this isn't good enough. So then I went back to school and studied to become a barrister because I thought, sales is a lot of advocacy. Barrister's the same. It's kind of sales, but it's also intelligent. And I absolutely hated it, to be honest. And my friend started working as a financial advisor, and he was doing really well. And I'd met some of his friends, and I was actually in a pub in Northcote Road in London, kind of being like, I hate my life. This sucks. Like I've been at uni for 7 years, and I hate my job, and these people are doing so much better. And they had a business development role in their company, so I applied, and super entry position, and luckily got it and worked there in that company for like 4 or 5 years. And the company grew, and I was kind of fortunate that I kind of got promoted 3 or 4 times as well in that period. So I was able to go from BD to ended up running all their marketing and business development. And in that time, pretty much learned all the basic skills which have now gone into Trusted Advisor.
Brilliant. So it's quite an interesting journey, I suppose, into being a business owner.
It's quite chaotic.
Yeah. Because a lot of the people that we have, on here, or ourselves anyway, we sort of just went into it from uni or just did a little bit of experience. But you really have almost been a sponge for quite a few years learning about financial advice.
Yeah, I think it can look that way. Obviously, I'm sure you guys do it as well, right? When you speak to people or new clients, you end up the business story is kind of your story as well. And you can't help but do one without the other. And you say it to people so many times that it ends up sounding a bit inevitable. Oh, I did that. I met this person. Then we built the business and they did this. And if you look backwards, it's like, oh yeah, I can see that's like a perfect story arc. It didn't feel like that. Like, I was just trying to pay the bills, earn enough money to go on nice holidays, all that kind of good stuff, and have a job that I didn't absolutely hate. And it just turned out...
It's a hard line to weave, though.
Yeah. And it just turned out there were bits that I was like, oh, I like that. I like that from that. But I think the entrepreneur or running my own business was the thing I always wanted to do. And, barristers are self-employed, obviously. Like, if you're a salesperson, there is commission element, which is kind of a bit like being self-employed, right? You've got a bit of skin in the game. Being a chef, my goal was always own my own restaurant. So again, self-employed. So yeah, they are very crazy all over the show, but I think there is a thread that you could probably pull out of it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so was the idea, because would you say that your business is a SaaS product?
Phoebe definitely is, yeah. Trusted Advisor kind of sits... It's effectively a marketplace, but it is a software-led marketplace. There is a tool that you log into as an advisor. The goal... So one of the big inspirations for Trusted Advisor was a company called Dataline in the US that does a similar model, but they kind of stop earlier in the sales process than we do with the advisor. So they'll give the advisor the client's phone number and say, reach out to them. And I always thought that wasn't a great user experience for the customer because they leave their details and they have no idea who's going to contact them. And, you're talking about someone's money. It's quite a personal thing. So our goal was to go a bit further and say, look, this is who you're going to meet. We'll match you. We'll do the confirmations. We'll get all of this set up. But then because we're kind of we go further down the sales cycle with the customer, it creates a whole new load of problems, right? Every advisor's a bit different. They have a bit of their routine of doing it, their sales process, their preferred method, their type of client that they want. So while we are a SaaS product, we're kind of a bit of a consultancy as well, because really every client, especially now some of the advisors we work with are quite large companies. It's not, I wanted it to be a one size fits all out the box solution that, you pay for and I don't, in the perfect world, maybe we have a customer that I've never spoken to, but in reality, that's not how we work at all. And I don't think we ever could. If we did, it would be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But Phoebe is absolutely a software product.
Yeah. And so with Phoebe, what were the sort of processes the processes that you go by to build a SaaS product?
Yeah. So Phoebe's it's not actually launched yet either. This is the first time I've ever spoken about it publicly. Myself and my business partner identified a gap basically in the market, or a product that we felt was not delivering well. And then, we had to use that every day for 6 or 7 years. And it was kind of a constant frustration of, this is nowhere near as good as we think it's going to be, but this is, or could be, but that's how it's always done. And how on earth would you build a product if you have no idea how to code or do anything, right? You just don't have the option. And then, like I was saying before, when you realize, I can probably do that, or I can give it a go. I was working for a company in the US, Domain Money, which were kind of a proper US VC-backed startup. And the whole thing is, do something that would take a month in a day. Let's give it a go. Let's try and fail fast. And it's a really cool atmosphere to be in. It's a bit weird being a Brit in a full US team because they're very intense. Like, we would be in the monthly stand-ups and they'd be like, let's go, Domain. Let's I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but let's go. Okay, let's fucking go. And they would be doing these, the heads of departments would have to do the stand-ups or, the company updates. and each one that they would do it would be, and they'd be really effusive and like American style, and then I would go and I'd be like, let's just in the UK like dry thing. But yeah, I think that you can do anything was quite infectious. So then we kind of got together, me and then when my business partner joined, got together a deck, raised a bit of money from SEIS, started working with another company who developed kind of the bones of the product, and then we kind of took over, and now partly through me and then through other kind of people that we've brought on have been able to get it to a point where it's probably, hopefully going to launch with like a closed group of advisors by the end of this month.
So with what you've created, so what is the, obviously I know, again, what's the 5-year goal, but so what in a aspect like a year, 2 years, 3 years, so what's the next, how do you want to physically help people? So what's the ideal?
Yeah, I think Trusted Advisor can, with its core product line of financial advice, probably 2 or 3 times in size. But I think it does have a kind of, it can't have exponential growth because it's not a software product. Like I said, it's a consultancy effectively. So I think we will eventually reach a cap. But I think there's a lot more complementary products that we could offer and kind of become a bit like a money supermarket Go Compare, but with a more hand-holding approach. So, you know, instead of just finding you a financial advisor, maybe there's a solicitor or a mortgage broker that you need. And I think one of the things that Trusted Advisor could maybe do, which a lot of companies don't, is help people earlier on in their journey. So at the moment, how it works is maybe you get a mortgage for your first house, and then when you start saving a bit more money, maybe you use Moneybox or Trading 212, and then eventually you get to a point where a financial advisor messages you on LinkedIn and persuades you to meet them, and then you graduate to that. But they're all kind of disparate elements, and there are big periods in your life where you're not probably taking advice or speaking to the right person. I think it would be great if Trusted Advisor could help someone introduce them to the right person for their mortgage when they're, you know, however old, and then when they use us to kind of get in touch with the next person and almost like gamify it, graduate to the next level of advice when it's right for that person. And that would obviously be good for us as well because it would expand our product lines a lot. And then Phoebe, the goal is first to launch it and it work and people buy it and like it. But yeah, the big goal is to try and automate a lot of financial advice. I think the industry is incredibly archaic. I think a lot of companies have a number of different systems that don't really talk to one another, and that results in the advisor having to do 8 times the amount of paperwork for a customer than the customer would probably think, and that means that they're slow and they don't deliver good outcomes to the customer, and the customer gets frustrated. It's just in general not the best system, and I think if we can kind of become the centralized element from that where all other data flows and is handled, but it's done securely, I think that would be a big benefit, because I think if advisors are just people at the end of the day, so they will try and find ways to do stuff quicker. And the obvious solution is, you know, just copy it, put it into ChatGPT and get it to spit it out. But that's really not secure, and you shouldn't do that with customer data. But people will. If they don't have a tool in which they can automate things, they will automate it themselves. And I think that is going to create a problem. So yeah, the goal with Phoebe is definitely just to get something that people like and then hopefully expand it. We'll start in the UK, but it has been built to handle US tax laws as well.
Okay.
And then we'd look to go to the US.
And is there a timeline with Phoebe at the moment, or is it not putting pressure on you or anything?
Well, yeah, I tell everyone it's coming out at the end of the month, and I have been doing that since April. We're at a point now where you can log in, build a client plan, compare it to what they're currently doing, and generate a PDF report. And Phoebe will recommend strategies for that advisor. You know, this person isn't maximizing their pension. They've got this amount of carry forward, you know, from previous pensions. You know, look at their what you call a glide path, which is where you change the allocation of their cash, bond, investment holdings over time. All of that stuff Phoebe's kind of starting to do. We have to do a lot of testing, and that's kind of where we're at now. But if we can pass all of those tests, I think the realistic approach is we've got around 100, 200 advisors that want to try it. We give it to them. We get a month's worth of feedback. I think that will be November. December, we'll probably fix bugs and do all of that stuff. And then hopefully we can launch in January. The financial year goes Jan to April is an advisor's busiest time. So unfortunately, we're launching a product right into the period where everyone's going to be like, go away. But, never mind. I think that's the quickest we're going to be able to do it.
How important is feedback in that phase?
Yeah, vital. It's super vital I think in trusted advisors, right, that's probably one of the most important things that I've learned, that your first load of customers, like, do not worry about making money off them. Obviously you need to live, but give them free stuff, discount things, ask for their feedback. When people leave, ask why they left. That your first however many customers, you should just see as like, okay, what did we do well? What did we do wrong? And that's why we're fortunate, right, that we've already got 70 advisors as customers. So we've already got a beta testing pool. And every time I speak to them, I talk to them about Phoebe. So there are things that we already know that they want. A great example is how you structure these sites or tools is you have client profiles and then you have plans in the client profile. And one advisor was saying, it's really annoying. I can't store notes about the client. They prefer to be called Joe, not Joseph. They might be getting divorced in 3 years, all of those things. So he has to store them on like a Word doc and then open it up and remember. And little bits like that, you're like, okay, we can add that. Like, that's not even complicated.
Easy,
we can add that easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is a real risk, especially with software, because it's so expensive to build, that you go off down a rabbit hole and you build something that you think is, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like our example of that is that recommendation tool. It's my belief that advisors are going to find that useful. There is a risk that they would go, I don't want the client seeing the fact that a computer's doing my job for me.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't want that. And my co-founder and I constantly go back and forth on whether we should just scrap that for now and just launch the tool and then add that in. But yeah, feedback is super important.
I was just going to say, one of the final questions for, again, business owners and entrepreneurs out there, when would you say is the right stage in their journey to get financial advice?
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, I'm not an advisor, so I don't know for everyone. I think it depends what advice. There are different levels of financial advice, right? You now could go on to ChatGPT and ask for basic best practices, and you could create your own Excel sheet and you could start tracking your finances. And if I would say you should do that before you start a business, have an idea of what you're trying to get from this business. Is it you're going to try and get to a level and sell? Do you want £10,000 a month? All of that stuff. But when you're actually ready to take regulated financial advice, it's probably, when you're consistently profitable, I would say. Maybe you're taking out maybe more than 50K a year. At that point, you're starting to get on that 40% tax bracket. And you've hopefully got surplus income, because while an advisor can tell you what to do, most of them make money by managing existing assets or helping you save or invest new amounts of money. So you even need assets or surplus to kind of generate fees from them. And I'm sure a lot of them would help you with the promise that you might be a good client in the future, but it's kind of good to understand how they make money as well, because if they're not, at the end of the day, they are a business, they may not text you back if you're not making them any money. So I think, when you're ready to take proper financial advice would probably be when you have a surplus of cash or money to invest, either in the business or personally, or you're about to take a large loan, or you have a lot of debt, one of those other reasons perhaps. I think it can go either way. Anytime you're thinking about making a very big financial decision, it's probably worth doing. I don't know about you guys, but I get incessant amount of emails and letters offering me credit and stuff. And now it's funny that we need it less, we get it way, way more. And it is tempting sometimes. You open it up and they're like, you've been approved for this £500,000 no limit credit card, and then you look on it and it's like 80% APR, and it's a terrible idea. But when there are points in your business where your cash flow is tight, it's pretty tempting. And I think that's probably when you should speak to someone before you make anything stupid. Would be my advice.
And is there anything in terms of advice that you would give to business owners, or is there any lessons that you've learnt along your way as a business owner?
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to. I don't think I could start a business in an industry that I didn't understand. I think that's probably, if you look at like where I am now and where I was 10 years ago, they were like the biggest differences. Before I started Trusted Advisor, I got quite close to launching a business where we would buy to let properties, turn them into HMOs, rent them out to a lot of people. And then the idea was to effectively put each one as a kind of like a coin on a like crypto, put them as a stable coin, split it up, tokenize the asset, and then sell people a fraction of that buy to let. So you could own a fraction of a buy to let and get the return. And it sounded like a really good idea. And there were a couple of companies doing it elsewhere. UAE does one called Stake, but I just didn't know anything about the industry. Like, I've never owned a buy to let. I've never managed one. I don't know anyone in that industry. And it was just going to become so difficult. And I was trying to get this thing pushing uphill to get it started. And then my friends who were advisors were moaning about not finding enough clients. And I was like, I could just go do that. I know how to do that. And when I did it, the first probably 10 clients were people I knew. So I instantly had clients. And I knew people that needed it, so they recommended it. And we've been really fortunate. We've never spent a pound to market to advisors in Trusted Advisor, and currently have a wait list, quite a long one actually, which is awesome. And I would have just never got that in that model. So I think maybe if you are an exceptionally talented person, you have an exceptionally good idea, you can buck that trend. But in general, if you want to build a business in an industry, I would go work in that industry for like 3 or 4 years as a minimum. And then the other thing I would say is, well, I said about the feedback before, obsess about getting feedback from your customers. And then finally as well, I think obsess over your cash flow quite a lot, and worry about that more than anything else. Like, it's really cool to see money coming in, but one of the things that I learned, and I still don't quite understand how it's the case, but even if you make money in a month, you don't actually make it if you're putting more into growth. It always seems like you should have more money at the end of the month, but you're like, okay, well, we've made X and we're going to put Y into growth and there'll be this much left over. There's actually less than you think every month. So yeah, just obsess over that, but don't obsess over it every day or every minute. You need to look out, zoom out a little bit more and just be like, okay, do we have more money in the bank than we did last month? Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Am I able to pay my bills and do what I want to do and, pay all my staff on time? And is everyone happy? Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Well, that's like in itself an achievement. And yeah, I'm terrible at this, but I think trying to enjoy the process about it a bit more. I don't know if you guys find this as well. Like, I wouldn't be able to do this if I wasn't a business owner. That's pretty cool. But I'm probably tomorrow still going to be like, oh, we're not having enough revenue. We need to grow faster. We need to grow faster. So yeah, I think that's probably, I should do that for everything, but like enjoy the, the process a bit more than just be like, okay, I want to get to X revenue this month. Yeah. A couple of the guys that work for me say I'm never happy, which I need to try and work on it. I don't think that's true, but yeah, maybe I need to work on that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. That was really good conversation.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.
So what do you think of that, Jack?
I was very good, to be fair. Very, very interesting. And it's one of these areas which I think, like Joe said as well, it's a bit boring, but it is really important. It's like the accountancy stuff. Yeah. Like, I know the thought of VAT returns makes you want to be sick, but we know how important it is and what Joe has to offer. Is something I think, as you said, I think only 9 or 11% of people actually take financial advice.
Yeah, that's mad. I think what was most important and quite interesting about that was how archaic it is at the moment, that sort of that industry, and how his platforms are perhaps changing that. And it's probably that, you know, AI is getting involved and everything like that, and how to actually launch a SaaS business. But it was a really good episode, and we're really looking forward to the next one. Thank you.